Across the centuries, one question has haunted builders, craftsmen, and survivalists alike. How did medieval structures built from simple timber survive hundreds of years, while modern wood begins to decay in just a few decades? From Viking ships still intact in their graves, to oak beams supporting Europe's oldest cathedrals, our ancestors knew a secret, an ancient preservation method that allowed wood to resist rot, insects, and time itself. What they discovered wasn't chemistry from a lab, but wisdom drawn from the earth, water, and fire. And understanding this technique isn't just a history lesson. It's a survival skill that modern builders and preppers can still use today. Medieval builders discovered that water, not dryness, was the key to preservation. It sounds counterintuitive, but some of the best-preserved medieval wood was not kept dry at all. It was submerged. During the Middle Ages, carpenters and shipwrights realized that freshly cut timber stored underwater or in marshy mud didn't rot as expected. Instead, it hardened over time. This process, known today as water seasoning or bog preservation, worked because oxygen, the key ingredient for decay, was absent. Without oxygen, fungi and bacteria couldn't feed on the cellulose and lignin that give wood its strength. The proof lies in archaeological finds. Viking ships like the Oseberg and Gokstad, buried in waterlogged soil for over a millennium, still retain their structure. Wooden piles supporting Venice's buildings have stood beneath seawater for centuries without collapsing. The medieval craftsmen didn't fully understand the science, but they recognized the results. They'd soak timber in ponds, rivers, or even pits lined with clay for months, sometimes years, before using it for construction. The longer it stayed submerged, the more durable it became once dried. Modern survivalists can use this very technique. If you have green wood and need it to last, sink it in a clean pond or stream for several months. It'll leach out sugars and saps that attract pests and feed decay organisms. Once dried slowly in shade, the resulting wood becomes dense, resistant, and naturally preserved, perfect for posts, handles, or structures meant to endure. While water cured wood for building, fire gave it longevity above ground. Medieval craftsmen understood that controlled charring, not burning, could make wood impervious to insects and moisture. They practiced a method now known as shōsugiban in Japan, but similar techniques existed throughout medieval Europe. Builders lightly scorched the outer layer of wood until it blackened, then brushed away the soot and sealed it with animal fat, resin, or linseed oil. This heat treatment carbonized the wood surface, creating a thin armor of charcoal that repelled water and insects. It also closed microscopic pores, reducing moisture absorption. In medieval barns, posts treated this way often survived long after untreated ones had crumbled to dust. Even today, you can still see blackened beams in rural churches and homes, evidence of this early wood science in action. To replicate this process, heat the surface of your wood evenly with an open flame or torch until it turns a deep brown or black. Wipe it clean, let it cool, and then apply a natural sealant such as beeswax, pine resin, or even boiled linseed oil. The combination of fire and fat creates a weatherproof shell that resists rot without any modern chemicals. In survival or homesteading settings, this simple technique can make fence posts, tool handles, or shelter supports last years longer. Medieval craftsmen didn't rely on imported treatments. They used what the land provided. Wood was often soaked or brushed with natural resins, tannins and oils drawn from trees. Oak bark, rich in tannic acid, was a common preservative. Builders boiled bark or oak galls in water to create a solution that could be brushed over wood. The tannins penetrated deeply, creating an environment too acidic for fungi and too bitter for insects. Pine resin was another favourite. When mixed with animal fat or beeswax and applied warm, it formed a waterproof seal that could withstand decades of exposure. Builders sometimes combined this with charcoal dust or ash for added protection and to darken the finish. This wasn't just aesthetic. It helped absorb sunlight evenly and prevent cracking from heat. Today, the same ingredients are easily replicated by anyone seeking a non-toxic preservation method. Mix melted beeswax with pine resin and a small amount of oil, like linseed or olive oil, then brush it over wood while warm. It seeps into the grain, hardens, and provides a finish that resists both water and decay, just as it did for medieval shipbuilders and bridge wrights. Another secret lay not in treatment, but in timing. Medieval woodworkers were masters of seasonal cutting. They felled trees only during late winter, when the sap had retreated to the roots and the wood contained less moisture and sugar. This made it far less attractive to pests and fungi from the start. Timber cut in spring or summer when sap levels were high rotted quickly no matter how it was stored. After felling, the wood was air-dried, never kiln-dried, stacked in shaded, ventilated sheds for months before being shaped or assembled. Builders spaced boards with thin sticks called stickers to let air circulate. The slow drying process allowed the internal moisture to escape evenly, preventing cracks and internal stress. Modern builders still struggle with warping and splitting because they rush this natural rhythm. If you're harvesting your own timber today, take a page from the medieval handbook. Cut during the cold months, when the moon is waning if you follow the old traditions, and allow your wood to rest under cover with good airflow. Avoid direct sunlight, it hardens the surface too quickly and traps moisture inside. The patience you invest will pay off with wood that lasts generations, not years. When you piece together these practices, water curing, heat charring, natural sealing and seasonal cutting, you get a formula that explains why medieval wooden structures have stood against the centuries. These weren't chance results. They were the product of patient observation and hard-earned knowledge passed down through guilds, monasteries and shipyards. For modern survivalists, homesteaders or anyone who values sustainable craftsmanship, these lessons are far from obsolete. Whether you're building an off-grid shelter, restoring a barn, or simply crafting a handle that won't fail in damp weather, the medieval methods still outperform synthetic treatments when done correctly. They rely on materials you can source from the wild, and principles that haven't changed since the first carpenter carved a beam by hand. In a world where most things are made to be replaced, learning how our ancestors built for permanence is a form of rebellion and preservation in itself. If you value the knowledge that stood the test of centuries, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning and share this video with fellow history and survival enthusiasts. Because the secrets that built the medieval world may one day be the same ones that help rebuild our own.